Flight Boss, bitch. You know, for sure. You're not listening to the Mind of an Terry's Moon. Flight Boss, the Archangel Uriel. And I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And right now, we're going to talk about how to know that the physical and the spiritual are separate. You see what I'm saying? Because we got a lot of theories going on out here, which I could say you want to call this a theory, such yourself, you can. But we're going to break down some disclaimers. Now, you could say that you got a lot of people saying that in some way, shape, and form, you're always going to be experiencing physicality. So everything is the physical. You got people who say that. You got people who say the spirit and you got some people who say the spirit and the physical are separate. You know what I'm saying? These are two separate entities and things of that nature, and they should be acted on as such. Then you have people who say that they're basically it's all one thing, basically. Like, there is no spiritual, there is no physical. You got people who think that there's this one thing. You see what I'm saying? Then you have people who think the spirit is really physical on all levels in general, so the physical is the spiritual. You see what I'm saying? And people try to say it's just one, and then in another kind of way. And then you got people saying it's separate. So which one correlates and which one makes the most sense? Now, I like to tie everything to actually reality. You know what I'm saying? My Jupiter is in Taurus, so you know I like to tie everything to reality. So let's break this down so we can see what actual one makes the most sense. Now, the one I gear towards personally is they are separate, because from the beginning and the existence of time, there's been an energy frequency in the universe dealing with things being separate, and we can know that as a fact. Shapes and forms separate. When we talk about the firmament and shit, it separates the waters from the waters. You got a table, it separates the thing that's on the table from the things that's under the table. So, you know, when you want to get into the whole thing of separate energy, there will be no concept of something being separate if something was truly not separate to begin with. There will be no even concept to even indulge in. You see what I'm saying? And so first of all, you gotta think like that. You can't be tying things to conspiracy like, oh, somebody made everybody think everything was separate. No, the person who even came up with that concept, where did they get that idea from? Regardless of where they took that energy and information and did with it, regardless of that, still, where did they get that from? So you see what I'm saying? You gotta think, really think. So when you're looking at you got to understand, there's truly, if everything is one and everything is physical, like some people say, then there's truly no reason for a person to say they have to connect with something. Because connection, when you connect to something, that's an outlet or input, positive and receive, but at some point in time, they were separate. That's why you had to connect to it. So there would be truly no concept of connecting to anything or relating to anything if there was no energy pushed out in the world that deals with separate. So bound, let's break that down first. And then we can even break it down into Bible ways of things of that nature. Like, it gave you the experience from ahead of time. When you look at in the beginning of let's say Genesis, they say in the beginning, the Spirit of God hovered over the waters. It never said God hovered. It said the Spirit of God. So that's already something letting you know it's something separate. You see what I'm saying? It's something separate. But this thing that's separate doesn't deals with separate as far as the physical. You see what I'm saying? These things are not physical yet. It's like three different worlds that you really have to understand, and they're not one. And but they all take different processes, and they're not all coming into the physical. And we know that. For an example, I have a bunch of spirits, and this is why I want everybody to learn astrology, because once you learn astrology, you'll understand the time and the location and where you're actually at. Where we actually at right now, we're in a being where we're in the lower parts of that being, the lower chakra of that being. So how we see the reality in general going to be in ways of spirits that came here. We're not in the headspace of this being, so we're not living the headspace life, but there's many different lives. Because I've been through all these lives. I'm a star conscious being. Like for an example, where I was at, no, it wasn't physical unless I chose to experience physicality, and it still wasn't physical. Same way like your dream. That's the shapeless, formless, odorless, non-flammable gas realm, the astral realm. You know what I'm saying? So for an example, when you live in a headspace of a being, I got a bunch of spirits that live in the headspace of me, aka I got a bunch of ideas, a bunch of thoughts and imaginations that y'all never know. You see what I'm saying? So they ain't never take no shape and form. You know what I'm saying? You ain't like everybody have ideas, deep ideas, thoughts and imaginations that people will never know. See, those are spirits that stand in other places. They didn't choose to take nobody. You see what I'm saying? So now you have to sit back and ask yourself, okay, if it is one and the same, then okay, when a person is lost into the physical and they only been in this realm and they haven't seen no other realms and don't see no other world like it, and they feel like they only could be a part of this realm, here's what happens. They get this confused. They sit back and think, okay, is the spirit astral realm, is it becoming the physical, or is it dictating the physical? Think about that. Is the astral, is the spirit, is the conscious realm? That's the shapeless, formless, odorless, before things come into shape and form, right? You got to think about it. Is it becoming the physical, or is it dictating the physical? We know for a fact we have a such thing as a dictatorship, right? We know for a fact we have a such thing as things becoming something. But let's see what would make more sense when it comes to the spirit either becoming the physical or the spirit dictating the physical. Okay, now how are we going to make sense of this? Now when you really think about it, you got to think like this. The furthest you could go back in time, there's been creation stories. So if you're a person who's into creation stories, then you're going to have to agree with the concept of the spirit is dictating the physical, not becoming the physical. Because if you are a person that's gearing towards more of, hold on one second. Dang. All right, yeah. Now look, if you are a person that's into any creation story or this, that, and the third, then you have to agree to the concept of the spirit is dictating the physical. Because anytime in a creation story, the kind of concept you get is the physical is being motivated by something either inside it, outside it. You see what I'm saying? Out, as above, so below, as within, so without. So now, if you're a person that's not in no creation story, and you're a person that's not into any myth, and you don't have no kind of concept, like you're more like an atheist, you don't even dive into any type of idealistic thoughts or anything of that nature, and you're more like an atheist, a scientific atheist, then at that point you would have to agree to the terms and conditions that the spirit is becoming. Because at that point you put yourself in a mind state where you truly don't even believe in a spirit, because a spirit is a religious text. So conscious and all these things, you're trying to figure these things out into the world, externally in some type of way. So in some way, shape, or form, you have the brain and the mind state of a person that think everything is becoming something. And when we look at scientists and things of that nature, these people are really technically lost into the physical. You see what I'm saying? So now we have to balance the scale now. Let's balance the scale. What holds more power? What holds more power when it comes to seeing if the spirit is actually separate from the physical, the astral realm, the non-physical is separate from the physical, or is this the non-physical becoming the physical? And we have to learn how to explain worlds. So now let's balance the scale. Either, okay, you may be a super scientist, atheistic person that agrees to the terms and conditions of everything is becoming something, or you may be a person that's into beliefs and you have your own thinking and understanding, and you kind of do drift off in your mind a little bit. Then you're going to have to agree to the terms and conditions that the spirit is dictating the physical. Because with that outlook, you're going to get into a bunch of concepts of thinking that, oh, I'm not this body, I'm just something in this body. And then once I leave this body, I could go get into another body and this, that, and the third. And because you have to think, because then you will start having to think like, okay, yeah, the spirit don't become the body, because I was in many bodies, and the many bodies I was in didn't all look the same. So if my spirit is just genuinely a physical version of me, then how come if I've been here in many lives or this, that, and the third of that nature, how come I didn't always look like this? See, then you'll get lost and confuse yourself to the point that you have to do a conscious 360 and come back to the mind state and the realm of reality of agreeing to the terms and conditions that the spirit is dictating the physical. The spirit is not of the physical. You know, and I agree with that, because me personally, I know I've been here many times. I know that though. I got that brain. I was in I looked many different ways. I had many different bodies. Sometimes I didn't even take no body. You know what I'm saying? But I still got my conscious. I still got my spirit. You see what I'm saying? And that holds everything. So it don't matter what shape and form I go into, which truly is just a matter of density that has really nothing to do with the spirit realm. The physical realm in general has nothing to do with the spirit realm. So you can go as far as a nucleus of something. The nucleus ain't nothing but, that might be just the fucking first star. You see what I'm saying? And I think they correlated with that. That's the first physical body. That's a whole different realm. But you have the ability to perceive the other realm. Based upon that, I got spirits and thoughts that may not ever come physical. To the day I die, I may not ever express these feelings or thoughts or spirits. You see what I'm saying? If you believe in the spirit. And everybody have a conscience. Everybody, even scientists, know that. They may think it's physically or something like that, but I bet you they won't find it. You see, that's a whole nother realm. So when you get lost in the physical, you know, you come to conclusions of thinking that everything is becoming physical. It's because you lost in the physical. That's the third trail. Everything is frequency, vibration, then energy. Light, everything you see, and then things that come into density, anything that has a form of a density. I don't care if it's the smallest nucleus ever. It's a form of a density. That's in the life form of energy. And that came last. Before you could even see a light source. For something to even do that, it had to be created, and it get created by frequency and vibration. And we know that every day. When you have an idea and choose to express it with all your emotions and feelings, you become a light. You become an example of whatever you're trying to do. You become a source, and all the material and all the things that take shape and form, whether it's in densities of just situations all the way down to it become practical and physical. That's when it's energy. You see what I'm saying? That's when it's created. So we know the physical body was created. It didn't become something. It became what it always was becoming, which was, it was created physically. But what created it is not it. See what I'm saying? The same way you could say the body you are in is not you, but it's the representation of the vessel that you are in for the moment. And once you understand this, you'll know how to separate the two and know how to not get lost in the physical and conflate it with the non-physical to the point that you think it's one and the same thing. So you start physically, literally doing physical things, thinking it's spiritual things. And you can be led astray, because once you're following the sun, that's it. The sun got you. It got you. See what I'm saying? So we got to understand that we truly don't know what's actually going on, but we do know there's an energetic force going on where the spirit, the conscious, is separate from the body, and the spirit is in the frequency. The people that the spirit realm, the astral realm that everybody think they're talking about, that's not even the frequency realm. That's the vibration realm. That's the rainbow waters realm, the pool of imagination, the rainbow ocean realm. You see what I'm saying? That's your soul. Your soul become a separate individual, right? When it goes into a vibration. When your frequency, your spirit leaves the overall spirit, it goes into the vibration. And that's a form of a fluid also, but a higher dense fluid that's not even in this realm of reality to call it physical. And when the frequency and the vibration realms come together, it creates the physical that it can take part of if it chooses to. So it's not a part of it, and it's not a part of itself. It was a creation. The same way like your child may be a part of you, but your child is not you. You see what I'm saying? And then you only created, it's like you created the flesh for it to take, but you truly did not create the spirit and the conscious of your child. You see what I'm saying? It's separate. Those two different worlds. This is why we can say you may birth a child that act older than you, that's very wiser than you. Now, if you a dumb person, now if you think everything is becoming, right? If you think the spirit in the astral realm is becoming the physical, and taking shapes and form of the physical, and you don't think that the spirit is dictating the shapes and forms and choosing to do what it wants to do. If you don't think that, then you're gonna have to agree to the terms and conditions that if two dumbass parents have a child, then that child is no way, shape, and form that child could take on any qualities better than the two parents. Have to. Because if the child is truly becoming everything that was within the parents, then that child will be able to see no other kind of outlook outside of themselves or outside of the parents. And we have examples every day of kids coming in this world saying that I don't feel like they're a part of their family, or if not that, they end up doing things, come on man, they end up doing things that their parents never got to do. You see what I'm saying? Or they got conscious in realms, and their parents look at the child like, where you get well, how do you know all this shit and things of that nature? You know what I'm saying? You ain't get that from me. When a parent say that, that's actually real. That's actually true. When a child feel like an outcast, you see them gothic kids and all think they feel like outcasts and things of that nature. That's actually true. Based upon what they did in a previous life or whatever like that. But see, you're not able to believe in any previous lives or anything of that nature if you truly just believe everything is becoming. See, I get to choose what vessels I go into because I have reached that level of. But if you only been in one realm of reality, you can only see it that way. But yeah, you know, the spirit, the astral realm, and this is how you know for a fact that is separate from the physical. And once we start to understand that, we will start to lose physical pleasures. We will start to not care about the body and the flesh and things of that nature, and then and the pleasures and stuff like that. And the more and more we get into that nature, we'll start to feel like, damn, I know where I'm going, so I don't give a fuck about here anyway. It is, you know what I'm saying? It'll make you lose a bunch of shit because you know that this physical is truly not you anyway. Flight boss, bitch, you know, for sure. Goddamn air.